An Adelaide University professor is leading the charge to identify an Australian soldier killed in battle more than 7 decades ago. The serviceman's DNA is being compared with hundreds of potential relatives in a bid to give him the burial he deserves.
1942, the world is in the grips of war. Near Kupang in West Timor, Australian soldiers are fighting against the Japanese invasion. 73 years later, the remains of one soldier who made the ultimate sacrifice have finally been returned home.
He would have died, he would have been killed in action in February of 1942.
The complete skeleton was stumbled upon 2 years ago by workers digging foundations for a building. A water bottle and personal items found in the makeshift grave confirming the soldier was Australian.
So the DNA, we hope, is going to point us down a particular path that we hope will result in identifying this fellow and being able to bury him with his name, which is what they all deserve.
At the University of Adelaide's Forensic Lab, researcher Jeremy Austin is working to solve the mystery. Here, DNA is being painstakingly extracted. It's a similar technique to that being used to identify the remains of the little girl found in a suitcase at Wanaka. The bones are cleaned, then ground into a powder, which is then dissolved to release the DNA.
In those kind of environments, DNA doesn't last anywhere near as long, and so even the remains that we're receiving that are only 70 or 80 years old, the DNA is highly degraded.
But in this case, a DNA profile was obtained and is now being compared with samples gathered from potential living relatives.
Now, we've tested almost 200 family reference samples already, but there could be hundreds and hundreds more that we need to test before we actually find a match.
Professor Austin is confident a match will one day be found.
It's just a matter of time, I guess, before we finally get a match. I think it will be a bit of a eureka moment.
Sadly, this isn't an isolated case. Of the thousands of men who fought in the World Wars and in Korea, around 35% of Australian soldiers have no known grave. The mission of the Unrecovered War Casualties Unit is to find these men and give them the burial they deserve with full military honours.
It's very important to families that this idea that there is finally closure to a chapter that's been part of the family's history for a long time.
Jessica Stanley, 9 News.